I'm not exactly sure how thick my skull is, but I do know it's pretty thick. Otherwise, I would have suffered serious injuries years ago from the powerful blows I've taken to the head with iron dray pins, pokers, clubs, stone, coal, and boulders. Those hits would have cracked anyone's skull wide open if it weren't pretty thick. Doctors have told me many times that the thickness of my skull over my forehead is nearly an inch. George Deval. George stood out as the top riverboat gambler along the Mississippi River. Not only was he skilled in gambling, but he was also known as a trickster, a brawler, and an expert in swindling men out of their money. Born on August 1, 1829 in Marietta, Ohio, George Deval was the youngest among 6 siblings. His father, a ship carpenter, often traveled for work, leaving Deval's mother to handle the upbringing of the children. Despite having opportunities for a good education, Deval disliked school and frequently skipped classes. He was notorious for getting into fights, returning home regularly with scratches and bruises from his altercations. When teachers tried to discipline him, he would retaliate by throwing stones at them. With his father absent for boat-building work most of the time, his mother often had to seek assistance from neighbors or passers-by to manage his punishment. Devol left home when he was just 10 years old, finding work as a cabin boy on the riverboat steamer named the Wacusta. He must have impressed his employers, as he quickly landed a better-paying position on another boat called the Walnut Hills. Soon after, he moved on to the Cicero, where he picked up the game of 7-Up and mastered the art of bluffing. Witnessing the lavish lifestyle of professional gamblers on board, Devol was determined to join their ranks. By the time he reached his teenage years, he had honed skills in dealing seconds, palming cards, and recovering cuts. Fighting remained a constant part of his life, and he became proficient with a gun, never shying away from using it when necessary. When the Mexican War erupted, Devol found himself aboard the Tiago. Feeling the call to arms, he secured a job as a barkeeper on the corvette, bound for the Rio Grande and Mexico. During his time on the corvette, he befriended a man who taught him how to stock a deck. Upon reaching the Rio Grande and joining the forces, he wasted no time in using his newfound skills to cheat his fellow soldiers. However, he soon grew tired of military life. With his pockets lined with his ill-gotten gains, he returned to New Orleans, albeit briefly. Just 17 years old, Devol made his way back home to Ohio, carrying nearly $3,000 in gifts for his family. Back in Ohio, Devol became a master of faro and rondo. He continued to refine his abilities and raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars in the years leading up to the Civil War. Working on the steamboats of the South, he teamed up with fellow card sharps like Canada Bill Jones, Bill Rollins, Big Alexander, and numerous others during this time. One favorite trick of Devol's was wagering against ministers, who often lost their modest earnings to the seasoned gambler. Nonetheless, Devol consistently returned their money, accompanied by the advice, "Go and sin no more." However, he didn't extend the same leniency to soldiers, paymasters, farmers, thieves, and businessmen. After the war, the railroads pushed westward, leading to the rise of settlements along their routes. These towns, bustling with railroad workers, miners, and cowboys, offered various vices like prostitution, numerous saloons, and ubiquitous gambling halls. This expansion provided ideal opportunities for Devol's endeavors, prompting him to follow the railroad expansion from Kansas City to Cheyenne in the early 1870s. According to Devol's recollection, he was working at the Gold Room Saloon in Cheyenne when he had an encounter with Wild Bill Hickok. Devol recounts that Hickok initially lost a $50 bet, then won on another $50 bet, but the dealer only gave him back $25. When Hickok protested, the dealer claimed the house limit was $25. Hickok retorted, "But you took 50 when I lost." The dealer replied, "50 goes when you lose." Hickok, known for his short temper, didn't take kindly to this and promptly struck the dealer on the head with his walking stick, overturned the table, and pocketed the till. During his time working along the railroad route, Deval managed to swindle a railroad director out of $1,200 in one game. However, this successful gambling endeavor soon came to an end when the enraged official banned gambling on trains. Additionally, the Pinkerton agency was hired to keep an eye out for notorious professional gamblers, including Devol. Deval wrote his memoirs, 40 Years a Gambler on the Mississippi, which was published in 1892. It was probably an embellished account of his life. Shortly after its publication, the heyday of railroad and riverboat gambling came to a close. At the urging of his new wife, Devol retired from gambling for good in 1896 and spent his final years selling copies of his book. During his 40-year gambling career, Devol is believed to have amassed over $2 million in winnings. However, by the time of his death in Hot Springs, Arkansas in 1903, he was nearly broke.